Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being part of this very exciting series. We are in our very first episode of this session, and we definitely like to probably mention a few things that is there in everybody's mind. We all know we're part of history in the making as we face one of the biggest challenges anyone living has experienced or seen. Most of us are trying to focus on what is than what can be as we stare at a very uncertain future. The Insider series is envisioned to give back to the community that you and I are a part of. And we believe in silver linings. And we are hoping to brace ourselves for the shocks and give a plan for the foreseeable future to help you recalibrate your mind, perspectives, and actions. The Insider series will be spread across several sessions with industry experts touching upon different businesses, ranging from startups, media and entertainment, digital, health, holistic practices, leadership, content, and much, much more. Over the next 3 weeks, you can tune into our series every Tuesday and Friday between 4 and 5 p.m. IST. And do visit our website, www.insiderseries.biz, B-I-Z, and catch a replay of all the sessions in our Crowdcast page, which is this, after the completion of each session. I'm your host, Bhargavi Swami, CEO of Excel Corporation, a HR and content consulting company, a virtual HR evangelist for startups, podcaster of the show People Who Matter, and, well, a learner for life. I would like to introduce you to my co-host, the man on the screen, Mr. Sandeep Pandit, founder of Craftja, a creative experience marketing startup which is focused on building intellectual properties, brand activations, and content creation for brands. Sandeep comes with a strong background in marketing, brand building, innovative content creation, and much, much more. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Bhargavi. Thank you for such a nice intro. So first of all, I welcome all for this session and thank you for taking out your time. So let me just give you a quick go through for some of the things, some of the features that you can use on this particular session. I've already seen that some of you have already posted some questions. There's a section called Ask a Question and you have already posted there, so that's nice. If some of you have similar questions, there is a tab which says votes. So you don't need to write the question again, repeat the question again. You can just click the vote button and we will understand the sequence of the questions that you are interested in and you are interested in getting answered. So we'll do that. And please keep asking questions as the session goes on, and we will definitely, there is a section where we are going to answer all the questions that you have raised. There's a dedicated time for that. Second comes in polls. There's a section called as polls. We have already received a couple of responses on that. So it's nice. So we'll take this up with our speaker. So thank you for this. And it will be nice if all the participants, because you can also interact and get to know each other. There is a chat box on the right-hand side of your screens. It will be nice just to say hi and the city you're from, just to give us some idea that where all our participants are from. So creates a nice ambience here. So please feel free to do that. And Bhargavi, let's just do the intro and get started.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sandeep. Thanks for the house rules. As you said, we definitely want to know who are our participants. We've seen a few of you through your registration, but it'll be great if you want to say that you're a student or you're an entrepreneur, you're a startup person, you're a professional. Some of you have already dropped in some very, very particular questions of industries. They're interesting and keep them coming because we'll definitely take them up with our guest, who I'm about to introduce. So without further ado, let's call the man of the hour. To the very first session, I welcome all of you. Today's topic is today's adversity, giving way to tomorrow's innovation. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first guest and speaker, Mr. Hari TN. For most of you who've already registered and tuned in, Hari is definitely one of those who define success. In his own words, success is determined by the number of people you can help. I've experienced this firsthand as I had approached Hari for a podcast recording a year ago. And it was the first time I was interacting with him. And he made me feel right at home. All he was focused on was to get me to produce the best content that I could. He didn't even know me. He didn't have to do that particular podcast at that point of time. But his nature is such that he sees someone who needs mentorship or help, guidance, and he's always there to help you out. So he's a mentor to many young entrepreneurs, thought leader, guest faculty across many prestigious platforms, just some of the many hats he wears very adeptly. Let's bring on stage Mr. Hari, Head HR, Big Basket. Welcome, Hari. Welcome to this very, very special interaction that we planned with you.
Thank you, Bhargavi. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you.
Hari, we are looking forward to picking your mind on certain topics that we've seen as alarming and things that are affecting our businesses, things that our entire network is talking about. So I'm hoping that with your insights into some of them and probably some preparation plan for the future, we're all tide over these really tough times in a more guided way.
Right. Great. So you want me to go ahead and share some thoughts before we open it up?
Absolutely. So we actually are focusing on the subject of today's adversity being tomorrow's innovation. One thing we've all noticed is while this is the topic of the hour, most of the time when any human being is faced with crisis, our first and instinctive reaction to it is to go back to a primitive form of response or a time-tested response to deal with the situation. So what we are trying to understand is this going to be the detriment of the gateway for future innovations and newer avenues? And with that, I throw the floor open.
Great. So let me share some random thoughts and then we can open it up for discussion. So these thoughts would be more to trigger a discussion rather than, answering questions or providing solutions. So I think we are living in some extraordinary times. I think all of us recognize that. There have been really three big black swan events in this century, the 9/11 followed by the credit crisis of 2008-9, and now you have the coronavirus situation.
Yes.
These kind of events don't happen, very frequently. And if you also realize that, the half-life of companies across the world is about 10 years, which means that all the companies that exist today, the public companies that exist today, half of them will not exist 10 years from now. They would either be acquired or they would have shut. And the half-life of startups is about 3 years, which means that half the startups that exist today won't exist 3 years from now. So given this fact, that once in 20 years, some kind of event like this happens, most people are unlikely to see more than 1 or 2 such events in their entire lifetime. So for example, if you have a CXO in a company at this point of time, perhaps the CXO may never ever see an event like this. So it's very important to be able to deal with such an event with equanimity. Be very thoughtful, be very clear in your thinking, and be very decisive. So I think it's very important to see that. And I think it's also important to realize that there is a silver, lining to every dark cloud. And innovation is often a byproduct of adverse situations. I'll give you some real examples. So at Big Basket, for instance, we are seeing a huge increase in traffic because of the lockdown. People are not allowed to go out and shop for grocery. So people are ordering online. And, our capacity to deliver is just not there. We don't have people to come in and work in our warehouses and do deliveries for us. And yet the number of orders that are flowing in are huge. So how do you handle this, dichotomy? Huge demand, but inability to, supply or inability to meet the demand. So I think we thought about it very creatively. So the problem to solve is how do you increase productivity in the warehouse? So all we did was we took a few simple steps. So for instance, in good times, what we did was if customers came in, they could see slots for the same day or they could see a slot for tomorrow. And they didn't have to look beyond that. In the same day or on the next day, whatever they wanted could be delivered and fulfilled. But now we are seeing that that's not possible. So what we did was we opened up slots for 7 days. Now opening up slots for 7 days has a lot of consequences. And the reason why we didn't do this in the past was that one is because it was not necessary. And when when a customer places an order and let's say you place an order for 10 packets of biscuits. Now that 10 packets of biscuits is reserved for you. It may be delivered to you tomorrow, but it's reserved for you. So if some other customer comes in even 10 seconds later, those 10 packets of biscuits are not going to be visible because they're not available. They're actually booked for you. Now we realize that we have to change the way we looked at it because we are going to, look at 7 days ahead. And we said that's not really possible because it doesn't make sense to book, 10 packets of biscuits to be delivered to somebody 7 days from now. Because within those 7 days, there would be replenishment. The big, the biscuit supplier would possibly replenish those packets of biscuits and they would actually be available to someone else. So there's no point blocking the stock. So we took the call that we will not reserve stock. Now, when you don't reserve stock, the downside is that you are likely to have some undelivered items, which is that because you have not explicitly blocked some stock for someone,
Right.
actually,
Right.
and you have taken an order for the same stock from multiple customers, when it is time
Right.
for delivery to them, some of them might not get it. So we took great pride in one
Correct.
metric called fill rate, which is 99.5% of whatever customers order would be delivered. Now, obviously, the fill rate had to suffer.
Okay.
It went down to as low as 90%. Now, the point is that at
Oh.
this situation, customers are okay with lower fill rates as long as they get bare essentials. So we took that call.
Right.
We also said we'll cut down the assortment from 25,000 to 2,000. We said we will only deliver the essential items. And what we did was we moved all the essential items to one part of the warehouse. Now, these essential items were scattered in different parts of the warehouse. So we reconfigured the planograms and said all these items should be available in one place so that the pickers don't have to walk 10 kilometers every day. They can walk 1 kilometer and pick the entire basket. So we made that small change. So we did a bunch of these innovations. For instance, we have dark stores, and these dark stores requisition from mother warehouses or mother distribution centers. We said you have to order in large packs, which means that
Right.
if biscuit packets come in lots of 20, then a store cannot order 25 or 30. They have to be in multiples of 20. So picking was
Understood.
easier and transporting that became easier. So we took many of these small calls. The point I'm trying to make is that, innovation is not about coming up with, a Polaroid camera or an iPhone or a television or a jet engine. These are extremely rare innovations. Innovation often
Correct.
is about making some very elementary changes in your processes, which deliver a better customer experience. In fact, in his book, Loonshot, Safi Baikel talks about two kinds of innovations, the P-type innovation and the S-type innovation. The P-type innovation is a product, which is, for example, a jet engine is a P-type innovation. An iPhone is a P-type innovation. These innovations don't happen too often. But an S-type innovation is where a company brings together people, culture, technology, process in such an interwoven and interlocking way that it is very difficult for somebody sitting outside to even imagine how a company is able to get these different pieces of the puzzle right every time. So this is what we call S type of innovation. So we've been doing a
Got
lot of the S type of innovation. So I think adversity comes, you can't, avoid adversity. I think how you deal with it is what matters. Adversity can come in different shapes and forms. It could be specific to your brand. It could be specific to your
Correct.
company. It could be specific to your industry. But once in a rare while, you have an adversity that can potentially, cut across the globe and affect countries, affect companies, cutting across industries. So I think we are in one such situation. So it's important to deal
Absolutely.
with this very thoughtfully. So let me just give you examples of smaller
Sure.
adversities. Sometime in, I don't remember the year, I think it was approximately 2015. I think all of you have heard of Maggi, right? The Nestle noodles brand,
Yes.
instant
Nestle
noodle brand.
product.
It's a very famous
Yes.
brand, iconic brand. Indians seem to love it, and the taste was suited for Indian palate. Supremely easy to prepare. So therefore, it was very, very popular, and very quick time it got almost 80% of the market share. But sometime in 2015, I think the nation was shocked when the regulator chose to ban Maggi for the simple reason that the
Yes.
lead content in the product was considered very high. Now it was a big crisis for Nestle. Nestle didn't respond very well to the crisis. They became very
Correct.
defensive. They took a position of being outraged, which is that how can an iconic brand which is respected throughout the world even be questioned by an Indian regulator? So that was almost the
Correct.
kind of confrontational tone that they took. But the Indian regulator quickly took a position that we know what we are doing. And not just that, countries across the globe began wondering whether the Indian regulator saw something which was not visible to them. And therefore, they
To the
began
others.
testing the product as well. And
Correct.
eventually, of course, Nestle handled it well. But it took 3 years for them to re-earn the trust of Indian consumers. So Indian
Very true.
consumers lost the trust in this brand. And when consumers lose trust in a brand, it gives an opportunity for competition to come in and
Come
occupy
in.
a position that
Very
you
true.
have been forced to vacate. And therefore,
Very
it's
true.
very important that you deal with any kind of adversity, any kind of crisis very thoughtfully. I don't remember the authors. There were
Absolutely.
these authors, Elizabeth Ross, and I think it was David Kessler, who had written
David
this book
Kessler.
about grief and dealing with,
Yes.
grief
Yes.
and grieving. So I think there they present a 5-step model. I don't remember the 5 steps, but the first step was about
Yes.
denial, and the last was getting to
Yes.
acceptance. From denial to acceptance,
Yes.
you can go through multiple phases. You can spend an inordinately long time. You can deny. You can get angry. You can get into
Yes.
defensiveness, and finally, if you can do nothing about it, you finally get to acceptance. In a crisis, you need to get from denial to acceptance very quickly, because if you get from denial to acceptance very quickly, then you're able to address the problem thoughtfully, and you are able
Right.
to demonstrate humility, because the moment you accept something has happened, the moment you accept that it is inevitable, then I think you demonstrate a lot of humility, you demonstrate a lot of clarity, you become very collaborative in the way you deal with a crisis. So I think it's very important to get from denial to acceptance very quickly. There's just one other point also I'd like to make, and that is about,
Sure.
innovation is really about, the same book, Safi Bakhtal talks in his book, Loonshots, that there are two components to innovation. One is that in an organization, it's important to separate those that are coming up with new ideas and those that are executing BAU daily. It's also important, for example, to get the innovators or the ones coming up with ideas to interact with those who are working on the ground doing the daily stuff. And on
Right.
these two parameters, which is the extent of separation between those who are thinking and those who are doing the daily stuff, is needs to be, it could be low or it could be high. And the
Right.
degree of collaboration between those who are thinking and those who are doing the stuff daily can either be low or high. He says
Sure.
beautifully that the companies that innovate are those that are able to create a distance between those that are coming up with new ideas and those that are running the daily business, and are also able to create a great degree of collaboration between these two entities. So you need to be high on both dimensions, which is separation should be high and ability to
Right.
collaborate between these two entities should be high. He says, you know what, if you are keeping them separate, but if they are not interacting, then these ideas never take off, because then those who are creating these ideas are seen as armchair thinkers, and the fact that they are not
Right.
in touch with the ground reality, and therefore the people who are operating the stuff every day lose respect for these thinkers. So he says that's
Correct.
very important to create that collaboration, also create the separation, because separation is important because the two rhythms are very different. Running a daily
Right.
business calls for very, very intense execution. It calls for planning,
Sure.
it calls for discipline. Whereas, thinking of new ideas is really about being thoughtful, being let loose, being given a lot of freedom, no daily, outcomes or deliverables to meet more
True.
long-term objectives. So a crisis, I think, brings out this collaboration very well. And that's the reason why, if you're a great organization, you can always use a crisis to bring these two groups of people together. And the reason why these two groups of people come together is there is mutual respect for one another in a crisis. So Jawan,
Right.
Jai Kisan, all of us have heard the
Right.
soldiers going to fight in
Right.
the war, and the farmers producing the food. The soldiers respect
Absolutely.
the farmers respect the soldiers, because each is doing their own job. Similarly,
Correct.
in a place like Big Basket, the tech and the product teams have deep respect for the ops guys who are going out and serving on the field even in these difficult times. And the fact that the
Correct.
ops guys have deep respect for the tech and product guys, because they are, fixing things for them every day. I give you this example of, how we made changes to the way we looked at reserving stock. It all depended on the ability of the tech and the product folks to make these changes. We're doing a lot of these changes and they need to be done very quickly. Unless the tech and
Sure.
product folks work 24/7, it can't be done. And therefore, the ops guys are bound to respect them. So, in this kind of a situation, I think the adrenaline is really flowing. And I think
Ab-
companies which are in a crisis, if you have good leadership, you can leverage the burning platform to bring these two teams together, enhance the respect for these two teams, and make them work well together and get innovative ideas implemented. That's
So,
broadly what I had to say. I
okay.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sandeep, you
So,
say.
Hari, Yes, taking it from there. So we all have been listening to some of the discussions that are happening in the current given situations.
Yeah.
So I have heard this new term that people have started using, that this is the new normal. So earlier, what the normal was, that is not going to be the normal going ahead when the kind of system settles down and the economy kind of settles down. And it will take 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, whatever the time period may be. So what is your opinion on that? Is what is the new normal going to be? Will it really change, or we will just, once it kind of starts off, we'll just go back to our normal lives and it will be as if nothing happened? I mean, we have the tendency, humans have the tendency to forget.
Forget and move on.
That's very difficult to answer because I think some memories tend to remain very short. So, for example, during the 2008-9 crisis, the mortgage companies were giving loans to people who were not credit worthy for buying homes. A person who was fired from a job for non-performance was given a loan by a loan officer on the statement that
Correct.
this individual was self-employed. So the entire form was doctored and the person was shown as self-employed to give the person a loan just to increase the loan book. And therefore the bubble built up and it collapsed. But for 2 years, people behaved well. They evaluated people better before giving them loans and before giving them credit. But things became bad again. So I think bad habits come back unless there's something to remind us from time to time. The good habits that you pick up, I think, last for a few years. And after that, once you realize that things are getting back, complacency tends to set in again. So I don't know. So what will remain a permanent change? Very difficult to say what will be a permanent change. Maybe companies
Right.
will be far more open to working from home. Certainly, I think that is going
Sure.
to be a more long-term change. And people will overcome the belief that you can be effective only when you all assemble under one roof called an office by commuting 2 hours through bad traffic. You can be equally effective
Right.
by working from home. A large part of what you do in the office is done in solitude, responding to emails, producing outputs for other people in the form of PowerPoints, Excel sheets, data, or even
Sure.
responding to other people's requests for data. So a lot of this
Correct.
can be done in solitude. Small little conferences between 2 or 3 people that require quick decision making can be done at home through simple conference calls. Very few activities require a large number of people to be assembled in one room under one roof. I think that might be a realization that will last a little longer. And I think
Right.
the
Sure.
fact that Indians will be a little more health conscious, will be,
Yes.
hygiene will suddenly enter our lives, and I think will be there for a while before bad habits again come back. But health and hygiene, I think clearly all of us Indians will be far more hygiene conscious. I think that certainly is bound to happen.
On that note, just to add some light humor, it's
Yeah.
the latest thing. If you ever have to gift anybody anything now through all the online mediums,
Yes.
you can give them a hygiene hamper. And the
Yeah.
best alcohol based hand sanitizers and others are part of that kitty. So,
Mm.
well, this is where India is heading for sure. But
Yes.
talking about another point that you mentioned, Hari, talking
Yeah.
about collaboration and about
Yeah.
how your I think your behavior to crisis and how a business acts to crisis really determines whether they're going to retain that position they've created for so many years,
Yes.
months, or is a competitor going to upstage them? So,
Correct.
a very clear recent example that comes to my mind was what happened with PhonePe. When for 2 days, I think the PhonePe app was down, obviously because of the financial crisis its main funder, Yes Bank, the partner, was going through. And at that point of time, there were a lot of banter to and fro on Twitter between PhonePe and Paytm, their
Yeah.
exact rival competitor. That
Right.
happened.
Right.
And that was a very interesting way PhonePe dealt with the entire situation,
Mm.
retained the customers that were already on its base instead of losing
Mm.
ground to Paytm. So I just wanted to understand, you come from such I think, a vantage point of where startups are playing this game with each other. So I think some of these situations, of course, are adrenaline pumping. Some of them can be taken with light humor. But what is your take when situations like this happen?
So I think an event like this can affect different companies very differently. I'll give you some
Sure.
examples.
Sure.
So one example was of Taxi for Sure. So I
Yeah.
think you all recall, right? Sometime in 2013-14, both Ola and Taxi for Sure were, in the taxi aggregation business, using technology to
Yes.
provide cabs on demand the way Uber provided the same in the US. very, very cool
Yes.
companies. The investors thought that, both these companies, by virtue of being early movers in the Indian market, could potentially emerge as winners in a winner take all or an oligopoly market. And
Sure.
I think both were trying to raise a large round of funding. And sometime in October 2014, Ola closed a 210 million round with SoftBank. And Taxi for Sure also was in discussion with VCs. And Raghu, who was one of the founders and also the CEO, was in the US for an in-person meeting sometime in late November and early December to talk to the VCs and close, the round. He never knew that on sometime on 6th December, I think, a driver, Uber driver, raped a woman passenger in Delhi, and the
In
world
Delhi.
turned upside down completely after that. Nobody ever realized that, something like this could create such a backlash on the taxi aggregation industry. The
Right.
nascent industry was already dealing with a lot of regulatory issues in terms of whether the whole
Challenges.
industry was legal or not with the government at that point of time. And on top of that, this incident, and there was a public outcry. The outcry was
Right.
not against the poor law and order conditions in Delhi. The outcry was against taxi aggregation, which was a bit surprising. So none of the investors were willing to pour in money because at that point of time, everybody went into wait and watch position. And the
Correct.
dwindling cash position left Taxi for Sure with no option but to sell off and sell off to
Right.
either Uber or Ola. And therefore, finally, it merged with Ola and it got a good price. So I'm saying that a black swan event like this can actually kill a company. And it's impossible to,
Right.
even forecast an event like this. But on the other
Correct.
hand, it may not kill a company. It could just, hurt you in some way. And maybe
Right.
if your finances are still strong, if your runway is still good, if you have had a lot of goodwill that you built with your customers, like PhonePe had a great goodwill with its customers. If you have customers who are
Sure.
loyal to you because of the past experience, they are certainly going to, forgive you, going to, tolerate some of these difficult times and live with you. So I think it could affect different companies in very different ways. And those that are running out of cash, I think those are the companies that need to really think about how to manage their costs particularly well. An 18-month
Right.
runway before raising the next round is no longer going to be 18 months because your revenues are going to come off and your costs pretty much are going to be where they were. Therefore, 18
Correct.
months could come down to 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. You don't know, depending on the company. So I think
Very true.
startups need to take very quick measures in terms of how do they manage their costs and extend the runway because till December 2020 of this year, no VC is going to be prepared to fund any
Sell out
startup
any
unless
funds. Very,
that's right.
very true. So, Hari, when it comes to this question of, different companies reacting very differently to this, and yes, if you are a company which is dependent on a day-to-day cash flow management issue, then, well, it's pretty much a doomsday prophecy for you that's going on. At this kind of time, a lot of the people who've registered into this
I
talk
lost
and
you.
the questions. Sorry, can you
Yeah.
hear me now? Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. Hari, are you there? Or are we just facing a technical issue, everyone? Just a quick reminder for all those who've joined us. Thank you once again for being a part of this session. And yes, I think we have Hari back. Hi, Hari. Are you there?
Yeah,
Audible?
yeah, yeah. I'm there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So Hari, this is something we'll have to learn and, go past. These are no more, I think, our in-person events and seminars happening in these fancy hotels and conference rooms. This is
We're
a
waiting
digital
for Hari to.
phase.
We're waiting for
Yes.
Hari to
And
reconnect.
yes, that's true. So yes, the technology of the future also comes with certain riders and clauses, right, Sandeep?
Yes.
Right. So I was just giving a reminder to everyone. There's an ask a question section here. We've got a few questions already lined up. I think 5 of them. If you think somebody has asked the same question you have asked, then or you want to know, you can just go and vote on that question. So it'll just be an extra vote on the same question. There is a poll running here. We have an interesting poll which is asking a very pertinent question. We have what should entrepreneurs or startups do at this point of time? And whatever you think is something that you feel is the right way forward for an entrepreneur or a startup, please go ahead and cast your vote for that particular section right there, because that is something we'll reveal towards the end. And for all those who joined us slightly late, we will have one of you on board in the live session with us, directly asking a question to Hari. It can be anything to do with Big Basket, well, which is a lifesaver for most of us, stuck at home trying to get our groceries and really necessary products home. Or it can be a startup related question. You're a student, you're somebody who's got your first job offer.
It's like a ask anything kind of
AMA,
a section.
absolutely.
So ask anything. So it's your chance of FaceTime with Hari one-on-one, and whatever the question may be, you can just ask and get a direct interaction, direct feedback from Hari, from the speaker.
From the man himself.
So
and yes. Yes. So Sandeep, are we getting Hari back on board?
Yes, it is saying he's reconnecting.
Okay, it is reconnecting. All right. Should we send him an invite again to join in?
I'm doing that.
All right, great. Okay, so we've got some really interesting people who've signed in. Some of them are homemakers. Some of them have been ex-employees of companies, have had very strong careers. And yes, we have Hari back again.
Hi.
Hi, Hari.
Hi.
Yes, we use the interim period just to promote the questions in the poll section.
I could see both of you and I could hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
We were just saying we're all subject to being part of technological phase, and it has its mood swings, I guess.
Yes.
Right. So, Hari, I was asking about companies that are in the brink of closure, perhaps, and companies that have to take some really tough calls. And a lot of people who are registered here today are employees of companies, maybe entrepreneurs who have to take the tough call of reducing their headcount, or people who have to cut down. I mean, increments definitely is a dream of the past now, and we're talking about salaries getting slashed by percentages here. So, as a HR man yourself, somebody who's seen so much recession adversity in the long span of your career, what do you think is the best way out to handle this kind of a situation?
See, I think there is no doubt that companies, startups need to conserve cash. They need to do everything possible to conserve cash. And salaries are one important component of cost in any services business. Obviously, there are other costs that you need to look at. For instance, you might be occupying expensive office space. Do you need to give up some of that office space and get your people to work from home? Do you need to renegotiate with landlords? Can you do a travel freeze, a hiring freeze? And can you review every single expense item? Is it mandatory or is it good to have? So I think people cost is an important component, and you need to take those hard calls. So the way to look at it is you build your scenarios. For instance, if you have an 18-month runway based on your current cash position, you should figure out that 18 months will come down to maybe 3 months or 4 months, depending upon the scenario. So assume in scenario 1 that your revenue comes off by 20%, scenario 2 it comes off by 50%, and scenario 3 comes off by 70%. So assume that for example, if your revenue is 90 rupees and your costs are 100 rupees, you're burning 10 rupees every month. And let's say you have 100 rupees in the bank, you have a runway of 10 months. Now, if that 90 rupees of revenue is going to come off by 50%, the 90 becomes 45. So your burn goes up from 10 to 55. So nearly 6 times. So your runway is going to come down from 10 months to less than 2 months. So then you need to figure out how much do you need to manage that cost. 100 rupees can also be brought down. Can you bring that 100 rupees down to 80 rupees? Can you bring it down to 70 rupees? How much can you bring it down to? And therefore, you need to figure out what is the people cost involved and how much you need to take a cut. So you might decide that you need an overall wage cut of, let's say, 30%. And then you can figure out that an across the board cut of 30% is not really fair. What we'll do is we'll have the top management take a cut of 60%, middle management take a cut of 40%, and frontline take a cut of 10%, for instance. You could take those calls based on some scenario, assumption of certain scenarios. So I think you need to, and the point I would also like to make is that based on my experience, things always tend to be worse than what you imagined. In downward spiral, you never know what the bottom is. And therefore, I would say always prepare for the worst. Don't be optimistic in a situation like this. Prepare for the worst. It's nice to think that things will work out well in the future, but it's also nice to be realistic. Trust in God, but lock your car. Take all the right steps, be decisive, don't get too emotional, don't get too attached. I know this person as a colleague of mine, their friend, I know their family, I have played with their children in a picnic. How can I let this person go? How can I, slash this person's salary by 50%, I think you need to take some of those unemotional calls, because you are doing it in the larger good. You're doing it for the company. You're doing it for keeping the employment of the majority alive. If you don't do this, you'll have to shut the firm. Therefore, I think it's time to
Correct.
take some of those bold decisions. Investors will always be supportive of those managements that are able to take these bold measures rather than get frozen in the headlines.
So
So,
I think that's a solid point. Yes, Sandeep.
yes. So at this point, Bhargavi, I think we should take a couple of questions and try to answer them, because there are some questions that audience
Sure,
has
of course.
asked there.
course.
So, Hari, can you
Yeah.
see
Hari,
those
you
questions?
can have a look at it as well.
So
Yeah, there are 5 questions.
Yes. So
Yes.
some
Which
of
would
them,
you like to start with?
some of them you have already kind of answered in parts. So if you want to have a go on some of them, just to give some perspective on that, so that will be.
Yeah. So I'll take them in series. There are not many questions. First was, what impact will the overall HR field have of the current situation in terms of recruitment, new job creations? I think there's no doubt that most companies are going to go for a hiring freeze. It's not that there will be zero hiring. Certain skills will be necessary, and some companies will very selectively and thoughtfully recruit. But otherwise, we will see a hiring freeze for quite some time until things really improve, until we know, what are the implications of whatever is happening around us. I think we are not likely to see new job creation at all. In fact, if you can protect current livelihoods, if you can protect, current jobs, that itself will be great. Thousands and millions of livelihoods have been lost. They just have been lost just because a lot of livelihoods depend upon a group of people coming together. It cannot happen in
Right.
the context of social distancing. Lack of social distancing is important for a lot of jobs. So I think a lot of people have lost their livelihoods, and they're not going to be coming back in a hurry. So I think new job creation, no question. Next is, I can see one question around how is BigBasket tackling this situation? When we open the website app, it shows the message slots are not available. Yes, slots are not available. It's like saying, you know what, you have auctioning iPhones. You're saying there are going to be 100 iPhones on a platform, and they're going to be sold for 500 rupees, and you open up the platform. How long do you think it will be before the 100 iPhones are picked up? It'll be a fraction of a second. So that's the kind of situation we are seeing at BigBasket, which is we have limited capacity and the traffic has jumped up. And therefore, we just don't have slots, because the day we open up a set of slots, in less than 10 minutes, those slots get booked. So slots are generally not easily available. But I think gradually we are recovering capacity from 1st April to, today 17th April. Significantly, we have clawed back. There is a lot of capacity that we have been able to add. And we have made a lot of other changes. For instance, we have said that customers who've been shopping with us regularly, they will get some priority, some slots will be reserved for them. We've also moved away and are trying to create a queue system and providing some tokens to, customers, so that they are assured of some slots, even if it is not today or 2 days from now, it can be at least 7 days from now, they're assured of a slot. There is some kind of a token arrangement. But my sense is that very quickly we are regaining capacity, and it won't be more than 15-20 days before which we will hope to see a significant increase in capacity. Unless things go really bad in places like Mumbai and Pune, where the red zones
Right.
increase, there are more and more hotspots, and if our employees are from those hotspots, they can't come into work. So if we face some of these unforeseen situations, I can't comment. But otherwise, across the board, we are being able to claw back a good part of capacity.
That's
Okay.
great.
Next question is, how is the restaurant industry, fast food? Yeah, that's a very tough one, because I said restaurants and these depend upon people assembling under one roof, to be able to enjoy a meal. And I don't think this is going to happen in a hurry. So social distancing will
Right.
be the norm for at least the next 8-9 months, even if the government lifts the lockdown temporarily on the 3rd of May and then gradually relaxes some norms. People will be reluctant to go to public places. I think many of the restaurants, are likely to shut. They will be, they're going to be really challenged, because this, life is like that. It's unfair. Some industries tend to get impacted a lot more than some. depending upon the nature of the crisis. The nature of this crisis is such that businesses which depend upon proximity of individuals, a bunch of people coming together physically, those businesses are going to be impacted. There's no way out for that.
Sure.
Okay.
I think the airline industry
Yeah.
as well, just like the restaurant
Yes,
business.
absolutely. Airline industry too. I think even after airlines begin to start, get operational,
Yeah.
they can't run more than 30,
Yes.
40% because that's going to be the norm.
Yes.
Nobody is going
Very
to fly in an aircraft which is jam-packed.
Correct.
Yeah, how do you onboard and train new people? Yeah, we are doing the same thing, which is that we are getting the curfew passes for our trainees, giving them ID cards. How do you motivate, incentivize? So I think the only way is, how do you motivate people to go and fight a war when they have to lose their lives? The reason soldiers do this is because of a bigger purpose, which is that they are doing it for the nation. In some ways, I think if you ask me, a company like Big Basket has become the nation's lifeline in a manner that no government agency ever was in the history of independent India. So I think that is sufficient motivation that you are providing grocery for people so that they can remain at home and remain safe. So I think in some ways it is this higher purpose that is motivating them rather than anything else. And the other way of looking at it realistically is that India is a poor country and people cannot do without a livelihood for long. Some of us on this
Very true.
call are very fortunate that even if we are out of employment for 3, 4 months, 6 months, a year, we can somehow manage. But there are people who live hand to mouth. If they don't work for 2 days, they can't feed their family on the third day. So I think the reality is that many people will want to come back and regain their livelihoods after taking the necessary safety measures and precautions. They will want to come back too.
Okay.
Sure. Hari, just adding a point to the same question. I think
Yes.
also some people are asking for their own businesses, for independent businesses who are now operating from a work from home model. A lot of them being tech-based businesses or services businesses. In this kind of a scenario, when you recruit someone new and you don't know when to tell them this is the date of joining in an office because we ourselves don't know, so they onboard
Yes.
them online. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of trust. It's somebody new, you don't know them, and you're getting them into your system and introducing them and giving them passwords and access to a lot of other potential data. So in this kind of a situation, how is there any kind of a tip or something you keep in mind while onboarding these kind of new recruits, because there's no other choice?
I think there is no other choice, Bhargavi, on this. The only thing that you can do is to trust them. And let's just think about it, right? If they physically turn up in your office, you're still giving them access to certain passwords. All that you've seen
Sure.
is you've seen them physically. Just because you see them physically does not mean that they will not misuse those same passwords the way things will be misused
Very true.
at home.
Very
I think the only advantage is that at the workplace there are enough firewalls, and especially some types of companies which are very very compliance focused. They can be the right kind of data security mechanisms in the office assets in an office context.
Sure.
So I really don't know, for example, how a bank, for example, a Deutsche Bank
Yes.
would onboard an employee online, or how they would get
Exactly.
some of the people to work on that. I don't really have an answer to the question.
Okay, understood. Yes, moving on to the next. I think we have 3 more left.
3 more left. So will there be any kind of talent acquisition in manufacturing industry?
Very difficult to say. All I can say is that a lot of hiring will be on hold. I think, and that will apply across industry, across whether it's manufacturing or services. I think there will be a general hiring freeze. People are going to hire, companies are not going to be hiring unless things become more clear.
Absolutely. Unless I think maybe they're a pharmaceutical manufacturing organization, and if you are responsible to produce certain kind of pharma-related products, then maybe
Correct.
in those segments.
Very, very specific, industry is specific. True.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so moving to the next one, how do you onboard and train new staff that you hire in this period? Will you pay?
I think we just answered that one.
Yeah, I just answered that. Yeah.
Just answer that one. I think we have one last one. When you offer health insurance through a group policy, can you please ensure they are transferable to individual policies when you lay off for no fault of theirs? Just a personal finance issue that comes up for people who are losing job and their health cover. Good question. So is there a way companies are considering this among the many other things that they're dealing with?
Very frankly, I think the way the group insurance policy works and the way the entire premium is computed is that they work only when the individual is employed with the company and not after that. But if the company agrees to pay a special premium to the insurance company, then the insurance company will be open to extending that benefit even
That
after a
part.
person quits. So I've seen this happen in 2008, 2009. I think when there were some layoffs, I think we were able to work with the insurance companies to be able to extend those benefits by paying them separately for this. So you need to pay those insurance companies through a separate deal for covering these employees. And these employees will also be covered for a specific period. It could be 6 months, it could be 3 months, it could be a year. So even that you can negotiate and discuss with the insurance companies.
Right, right. So, yes, I think that ends the questions that we had from you all. Thank you so much. If there are any last questions, we can probably take one question last and maybe get that person on screen to discuss with Hari as well. But Hari, we are all about silver linings here. We've discussed the problem. We've discussed it extensively of what companies, industries worldwide are going through. But we strongly believe in silver linings. So in this
Yeah.
kind of a pandemic, which the world has never seen before, what do you think is a take back for all of us as individuals and maybe companies just to have lessons for future?
I think philosophically there are a lot of learnings circulating in WhatsApp groups. I think some of them are truly amazing. While WhatsApp
Right,
circulates lots of trash as well, but some of the learnings are really very good. I think many of us
right,
have learned what matters in life and what does not matter. Right? We've also figured out that we don't need much to live. You need the bare essentials to live. You don't need a lot of the luxuries, and a lot of luxuries don't really matter, excepting communicating envy and creating envy in others. That's the only purpose that a lot of luxuries achieve. Family
very
matters
true.
a lot. You need to spend time with friends and family. I think all of us have really learned to value, the interactions that we've had in person with our friends. I think we've learned to value the good things of life. I think that's something very important. I think that's going to. That's. I think those are some of the biggest lessons, which is that the small things in life matter a lot more than anything else.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so, Hari, coming to so we have this one poll. We had, do you see a poll tab there on your screen?
Where is that? Oh yes, Paul.
Right in the
Yes,
bottom, here, ask a
So
question.
yes.
Yes.
we had just asked a question before the session started, and we just kind of
Yeah.
leave it open to the audience that what they believe. I mean, in parts you have kind of answered some of the parts of this question that should starters do in this kind of scenario. Um, Specifically to mentorship part, because you speak a lot on mentorship, and I remember this one very moving story that you have written regarding one of your early first mentors for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Mm. Yes,
So, and I believe startups, while they are trying to figure out things in these challenging times, they believe that mentorship is kind of a role which is it's like to and fro. I mean, they deliver mentorship to certain people, and they do get mentorship for certain people also. Like it's give and take in that sense. So,
correct.
what is your take on the mentorship aspect? If you can kind of guide us on that.
What exactly is the question on mentorship? I understand that
Uh,
you're a mentor and you're also receiving mentorship as well. So what's the
So there are
question?
exactly two parts to it. So one is where should startups, for the time being, take up more mentorship kind of roles just to keep their lifeline going, because there are other startups who would seek guidance from them. That is one part to it. But from the second part is where do they get guidance from? Because in this time right now, the guidance is not more on the business, the industry per se. The guidance is more personal. How do you
Understood. Understood.
personally
Got it,
manage
got it.
the situation? So
I think it is important for everyone to have a sounding board or multiple sounding boards to whom you could go, discuss your problems without being judged, and somebody who listens to you. I think that's important always. And in a crisis, that becomes even more important. I think if you're an individual, entrepreneur, founder, whatever, if you don't have these sounding boards to whom you could go to, then I think you're bound to be in some trouble, because it is very difficult to handle problems all by yourself. You need somebody to to whom you could talk. You need somebody who would just listen to you. You need somebody who is just a sounding board where you can test multiple options, ideas. So I think it's very important. And I think as if you're a part of the ecosystem, you just can't expect that you will get sounding boards. You have to be a sounding board for others as well. So I think it's mutual.
True.
So I think all these relationships
Very
are
true.
built in good times. So you can, begin to leverage these relationships in bad times. You don't go and try building these relationships in bad times. You need to go out and help
Very true.
selflessly in good times. You need to go and then, build these things in good times. That's the way I would see it, because then they come and pay you back in bad times.
Bad times. True.
Very true. Very true. Absolutely. There's one important question. I only wanted to throw light upon that right now, is because it's a final year student question. It's a topic close to my heart because I know a lot of these kids have got job offers and now the dates have been deferred for most of them, or the offer has been cancelled by
Bhargavi,
companies.
should we take him on screen? So
yeah, sure. Get the person on screen.
Yeah.
So this is something that a lot of youngsters, whether you're an IIT pass out or you're just another college in a local college in a city pass out, everybody's going through the same situation.
Yes, true.
So for all the others, I think the polls, we're just waiting for all of you to finish your voting, and then we can finally say that, okay, this is something that entrepreneurs and startups should do.
Ashwin, if you can hear me, I have sent you a request, so you can join in on the screen.
And you can chat here if you are in a place where you can't join. Do let us know.
Yeah, so that we can just answer the question and move on.
Yes. And Hari, I personally have to tell you, a lot of my friends and family want to thank BigBasket hugely. Like you rightly said, it's become everybody's lifeline today. We're all comfortably sitting at home and we're assured that our families are not going to go hungry, or the kids are not going to go cranky, or the elderly people don't, not receive their nutrients and other things, thanks to a lot of the delivery boys and girls of BigBasket and your tech and product team who are doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I think we can move on with the question. Ashwin's not able to come on screen. So yes, Hari, what is your response to that very pertinent question?
So I think get from denial to acceptance quickly, because if you get to acceptance quickly, then the ways that you would deal with this would be very different. You could use this opportunity to pick up new skills, to learn a lot of new things. For example, if you were interested in marketing, you would go to perhaps Coursera or some other platform and sign up for a few free webinars on digital marketing. You would go and sign up for programs on analytics. So I think you would go and learn a lot of new things. You would try and network with people. You would figure out what new ideas people are doing. You would want to evaluate whether you want to be an entrepreneur. So I think if you see it positively, which is that this was inevitable. Companies are going to, postpone the joining dates, or even may say that we don't even need you. That offer is no longer valid. If you accept that, then I think you will look at the other options seriously. Entrepreneurship is an option. Learning intensely is an option. Connecting with people is an option. Reading up stuff is an option. And when things become better, then I think you'll be better equipped to deal with the world at large.
Absolutely. Like we said, adversity always gives rise to innovation or opportunity. So nothing like going beyond the drawing board and beyond your box and thinking out of it.
Yes.
And perhaps
you can do a research project in your college, for example. You go and you can teach in your college. You can teach this to your juniors.
So let's take up the poll, Bhargavi. There, so let's spend a couple of minutes on that.
Sure.
Sorry, the question that we had posted across was, what should entrepreneurs, startups do at this point of time? So there were a couple of 4 options that we had given, and so one is go for raising more money, more capital from the market.
Well, I think the most important thing is to conserve cash. I don't see that here. The most important thing, by far the most important is conserve cash. How do you conserve cash? The question of raising capital is going to be, very difficult to raise capital under these conditions, because investors are going to see whether you can manage based on the cash that you already have, whether you have it in you to take some of those difficult decisions and hard calls, or will you continue to behave as if nothing in the world has changed, and will you continue to burn money the way you burnt it before? I think they're observing you with and do more with less. So I think conserving cash at all costs is the topmost advice, I would say, for founders and entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Noted.
Really.
Duly noted. That's why we need an expert on board who can always tell us the right answer and guide us and steer us in the right way as well, for sure. So, Hari, before we conclude, we just wanted to, take your parting words and your experience on the Insider series.
Thank you very much. I love being a part of it. I think my sense is that your audience is very young, very dynamic, bunch of energetic people. And I love being a part of this. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Our pleasure completely.
Our pleasure, and thank you for taking out your time and
Not at all.
Series.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, for all those who are with us, you can catch this entire session once we have concluded. We will be having video replays on our Crowdcast page, and you can catch more of our sessions every Tuesday and Friday starting from the coming week. We had Hari grace us as the very first guest on the session. We also have a very interesting lineup of other prolific speakers and guests. So you should tune in, and we will be sharing more details on our www.insightseries.biz. From this session, we've got some great takeaways. Innovations do not have to be magnanimous in size. It can be the very small, simple, essential, small things, that can just change processes and maybe change the way you think. Conserving capital, conserving cash is number one on your list if you're a startup, you're an entrepreneur of a business of any size, because the next months are going to be really hard. Nobody can predict how many months it's going to be before market really opens it up. And for all of us to resume business as usual, some extraordinary measures might have to be taken. Be unemotional about it and take those decisions for sure. But overall, have faith, have hope, and definitely diversify your mind and thought. Your potential is all you can unlock in this period. Start thinking of what else you can do with your potential, your skill set. Upskill yourself, like he said, through online courses. Don't just be educated. Please do work on your skill sets, because that's the only thing that's going to carry you forward through these really testing times. And with that, Sandeep, do you have any parting thoughts?
Just thank you everyone for taking out your time, and it has been a pleasure, and we hope that we continue to share this knowledge, share this platform with all of you, and I hope this has added some value. The whole idea is to get these prolific speakers on board, request them to share their learnings, experiences, and I hope it has helped us personally, and I'm sure that it has helped you all. And we'll see you next week for next 3 to 4 weeks. We are here every Tuesday, every Friday. So tune in and we'll catch up again.
Right. Thank you, Hari. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience.
Bhargavi. Thanks, Sandeep. Thank you. Thanks, audience. Bye.
Thank you. So 21st April is our next session, and we have a very interesting lineup of a guest from the media and entertainment industry. So we will be putting out more details about this on our session boards and our websites. Please do visit and do register. And yeah, tell your friends about it. Tell more people on your network. And probably if you're a company or an entrepreneur, get your team on board, because these are probably things they should be hearing and straight from the horse's mouth. So with that, thank you very much for being a part of this session.
Thank you. Good evening.